This is a picture of me on my first day of bartending in downtown Boston. It was such an exciting and rewarding day as I was rejected over 30 times with plenty of stupid stories behind it, which I actually have another video explaining that, but let's get on. Here is the menu, and here's the food menu. Prices weren't too bad, not bad for Boston anyway. And then here's the house cocktails and stuff, and the beer menu. And this was the back of the bar. I remember this picture like it was yesterday. As I start, I'm over here analyzing, looking around, asking questions to my coworker, who is a real Irish dick, by the way. He came from Dublin. He was just here for the summer, and he was real arrogant, cocky, didn't like to repeat himself, seemed miserable and unhappy a bit. When we were in the bathroom together, he was just like, oh my God, I deal with idiots every day. It drives me nuts. But deep down, he was actually a really good person. I guess that's just how Irish people are. I don't know. And as we're working, he's kind of arrogant with you, but at the end of the night, when everything's done, he'll act like nothing happened and say, hello, me friend. Would you like to go down to the bar and have a pint of Guinness? At work, they're acting like they're the boss and are in charge, but once the shift's over, they'll be like, yeah, man, let's go have a beer and have a pint of Guinness. I guess that's an Irish thing. So anyway, as I was getting the hang and learning things, I made some mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. I had a hard time finding where the cocktail glasses were. I had a hard time pouring the beer correctly, and he was showing me how to do it. He said, yeah, the kegs get a little overcharged CO2, so more and more foam and fizz will come out. What you want to do is fill it diagonal in the glass, halfway to the top, keep draining it, keep filling it up halfway to the glass until the foam eventually disappears. I got the hang of that pretty quickly. And then there was one cocktail that had tequila and watermelon. I think I accidentally put in the wrong juice and I think maybe tequila. But other than that, I got the hang of it very quickly. I learned from my mistakes as I went on. I was catching up with everything the best I can. And I've noticed after the pandemic, it just seems like they expect you to know everything on the first day and the first try. They don't give you a chance to practice. They punish you for making mistakes. And if you make mistakes, they demote you or they shame you or they just fire you. And midway through, I was still having a hard time keeping up. It's kind of like I'm one step below, but I eventually catch up kind of rhythm in this place. I was getting the hang of the glasses. I was getting the hang to know where the liquor was, the cocktail. The POS system was very simple. I actually loved it. It didn't even take me an hour to fully learn it, but I still wasn't allowed to ring up customers and take tips, but I was getting the hang of the POS system, which was my weakness. So after that, I was still making some mistakes here and there, not knowing where stuff was down the basement, not knowing when to get the ice. It's learning. And so apparently, to make the long story short, at the end of the day, I was making mistakes, and I think there was this time I charged a customer for a liquor, and I would say to him, okay, we don't have the Jameson, so I'll get you another thing. It was a more expensive alcohol, and the coworker bartender shined the light and said, hey, I found it right here. Are you blind or something like that? And I was like, I am sorry for making this mistake. And I said, hey, can I make it up to them by paying it with my card and get it reimbursed since I made the mistake? I showed full accountability in my actions, but apparently he didn't like that. They were silent after that. And I remember this was my first and only day, or was it my second? I can't remember. But I do know that I didn't do anything majorly wrong. But I remember after 2 days, I remember the big dude on the right, he was one of our coworkers. I remember he was drinking on the job. I had to keep refilling his drink with vodka and cranberry about 4 or 5 times while he's on his computer. Same with the hiring manager. She had her tits with tattoos showing out and was having me fill up her glasses with wine or other sources of alcohol. These people are drinking on the job. And the one dude next to the big guy was the manager. I still remember his name, but I won't mention it. He was a John Cena looking dude. He was in good shape. I think he was a Spanish type of culture, Cuban. And he seemed really nice at first, but he seemed a little shady. Like when he hired me, he was like, he was real proud and grateful and appreciated my time. But after the third day when I had to go see him, I was upstairs and he was on the laptop and he was saying to me, we all talked about it. We're going to demote you to bar backing for about 4 weeks. You were just not keeping up. And all I needed was like another day or two to catch up. And I was already demoted after like the second or third day. And I kind of got cocky myself and real irritated because after all these rejections and putting in the effort, going to bartending school and learning and growing, and still had a hard time catching up because I just didn't have enough time and practice. And they're already demoting me. And I said to him, yeah, I'm sure I'll be a bar back for what? 1 year later, same position, right? And then he said, no, please, dude. We really need the help. We are really grateful for your help and we appreciate it. But we need you to relearn and step up for a few weeks, okay? We really, really could use the help. And so I was like, okay, I'm in. I'll be a bar back for another day. Just tell me how to do it and tell me how to get back up to bartending and I'll do it. And then he said, deal. And so after day 3, I'm a bar back. And the very same place I took the picture of standing, I was just standing around doing basically nothing. The employees and the people who work there look down to you. The customers spit at you. And all I was pretty much doing was helping the bartender make more money by taking the glasses, rinsing them, and putting them back on the shelf. That's pretty much all you're doing. You're just helping the bartender make twice the money without any appreciation or gratitude. And I wasn't even taught what to do, when to do it, or what to do. And then they look at you like, why didn't you know that? And I was like, nobody told me. I just sat here and that was it. Another part I forgot to add was that I noticed at the end of the day when they said they needed a bartender upstairs for an event going on that night, they didn't offer me to help or learn how to catch up. And the server, which was the Irish coworker I had's brother, was a server, and they put him behind the bar, and they were teaching him, and they were helping him, and he was making the same mistakes as I was making, but they forgave him for it, and they even offered him a pat on the back and stuff, and here I am just basically pushed out the door. And from that moment in, I can already see they're picking favorites, which was the reason I left. And the same hiring manager I mentioned earlier came in as he was working later. He greeted everybody but me, and I started noticing like how shady this place was. And I remember the next day I said to myself, I don't think I'm coming back here. And I never looked back. Although I remember the paycheck I had was pretty good for 3 days. I made about $250, and the minimum wage was $15 an hour. So I really didn't lose much, but all in all, this story is the reason I put a stop to bartending. Like, it's not what it used to be. I remember back in 2015 when I was originally drinking in downtown Cincinnati, they would always take any bartender, even with no experience, start them out slow and work their way up. And if you made mistakes here and there, you weren't punished for it. And the bar used to overall be a great opportunity. And I've noticed after 2020, that's really not a thing anymore, even in Boston.